Thank you, Sarah. And thanks to all the organizers for the invitation to share out today. It's been really wonderful to join the conversations this week, and I hope that it might be the beginning of a conversation if we haven't had an opportunity to connect yet. As we said, I'm Sarah, and I'll just start by saying I'm really glad to be thinking and listening and sharing with you all through this event. So I want to tell you about a lot of different things we've been working on, and I think I'll start biggest picture and narrow in as we go. So let me start by telling you a bit about our team's work broadly. So the Countering Transnational Corruption Grand Challenge for Development is the vanguard of USAID's bold new suite of anti-corruption programs and part of the Presidential Initiative for Democratic Renewal. The challenge leverages innovation and collaboration to prevent corrupt individuals from siphoning off critical resources that are meant to be used for the public good. So the CTC Grand Challenge is a 5-year initiative to support local, regional, and global innovations to detect and disrupt illicit finance and trafficking of commodities, to strengthen transparency and accountability in global supply chains, to promote standards, practices, and norms that enhance integrity in the public and private sectors, and to address other significant dynamics of transnational corruption. So part of what makes a grand challenge special is the way that it leverages the knowledge and expertise of diverse stakeholders, including the private sector, including local actors, and hopefully as we move forward, including many of you, to support collective problem solving and identification of new solutions. So by mobilizing our convening power and networks, the CTC Grand Challenge alongside its partners will draw attention to the complex challenge of corruption and bring new voices to the table, building a coalition that is diverse, powerful, and agile. This grand challenge and its various activities is implemented by Management Systems International, that's MSI, a Tetra Tech company working alongside USAID, of course, and Resonance, which is where I work. We're the major subcontractor and also an industry leader in open innovation. So that's really big picture, but how does this connect back to our theme this week? I think maybe I'll build on some of what has bubbled up already across speakers. As a global community, we have an opportunity to harness the transformational potential of green energy technologies while avoiding the distortion of governance, as well as the environmental ruin, human rights abuses, and marginalization that often accompany extractive industries. So this will require preventing corruption from penetrating green mineral supply chains and uprooting it where it does exist. As many of us are well aware, key corruption challenges in the sector relate to a number of things. You know, it could be revenue transparency, it could be the awarding of extraction rights and procurement contracts, it could be the disclosure of who ultimately gains financially and whether those individuals are in positions of power or politically connected, governance within state-owned enterprises, supply chain traceability and data interoperability, the difficulty of due diligence for upstream supply chain partners, or limited local community engagement and oversight. In most cases, anti-corruption efforts in this sector will unfortunately face the same significant barriers encountered in other complex systems, including political opposition to reform and transparencies within countries with systemic corruption, a lack of incentives to root out, report, or address corruption. Maybe there's a reliance on self-reporting or insufficient accountability mechanisms, or just high costs and long development timelines for more sophisticated protective systems. In a space with such complexity and such opportunity, the CTC Grand Challenge met the moment by launching its first activity, which is really what I want to talk about today. So In 2022, USAID, in partnership with Amazon, BHP Foundation, and Chandler Foundation, announced its first activity under the CTC Grand Challenge called the Powering a Just Energy Transition Green Minerals Challenge, which we fondly shorten to the Jet Minerals Challenge. So the Jet Minerals Challenge catalyzes the development, application, and scaling of innovations to counter corruption and strengthen transparency, accountability, and integrity in the global rush to meet the unprecedented demand for green minerals. This open call for innovation welcomed problem solvers from around the world to submit new ideas as well as proven approaches to reduce corruption in green mineral supply chain. So of the nearly 60 concepts submitted, USAID, with the help of industry experts, narrowed it down to 20 semifinalists and ultimately 11 winners. So under the challenge, the winners are each receiving approximately 50K USD to 400K USD, depending on the point they're at in their innovation journey. So they're receiving that funding as well as in-kind support, including targeted technical assistance to implement their innovations. The Jet Minerals Challenge team is also working with awardees to analyze barriers to their solutions' impact and provide support for clear, actionable pathways towards technical, financial, and impact milestones. Some of our winning innovators are introducing or scaling online platforms that allow for safe reporting on corruption. Some are disseminating information about payments, fees, and taxes. Others are facilitating direct connections between small-scale miners and mineral buyers. Many are engaging with journalists or non-governmental NGOs, with local communities or other stakeholders to develop tools and processes to hold the mining industry accountable. So if you were able to tune in yesterday and hear from Rogers and Kaisi on the Fomona team, you've heard a bit about their winning Jet Minerals Challenge project and solution. And if you're keen to hear more, I would encourage you to join Miran's session as he shares more about Talisman's Jet Minerals Challenge project tomorrow afternoon, British time. These sessions, of course, give insight into some of the specific work taking place, but to zoom out a little bit, Jet Minerals Challenge innovators are implementing work in 15 countries in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, and targeting more than 10 green mineral supply chains, including cobalt, copper, lithium, manganese, nickel, and rare earth elements. Their work is geographically and sectorally diverse, with 4 innovators pursuing multi-country initiatives to address transnational corruption and 7 focused on a single country. In addition, 7 of the winning organizations are women-led, and nearly half are local organizations. So our innovator solutions fall broadly into 3 tracks: constraining opportunities for corruption, raising the costs of corruption, and incentivizing integrity. So I'd love to walk you through all 11 innovators, but we don't have time. So I'll just take a moment to highlight a few of these exciting new approaches, maybe starting with constraining opportunities for corruption. So solutions in this track constrain opportunities for corruption by simplifying systems, by increasing competition on a level playing field, and by promoting transparency across supply chains. So to share more about what this means in practice, I'm excited to tell you a bit about the work being done by Manila Observatory and their partners GovData Initiative and Sustainable Development Strategies Group. So this project aims to increase transparency around the impacts and benefits of mining by creating the Community Development Agreement Digital Innovation Hub, which integrates a database of mining-related community agreements with revenue transparency tools and contextual data, and an analysis of relevant international principles and legal frameworks. So this team is focusing on the provinces of Cebu and Palawan in the Philippines, which are significant producers of nickel, cobalt, and copper. and they aim to facilitate informed decision-making and capacity building among end users. So I'll say this team has already been super successful in their outreach and engagement phase. They've included leaders and stakeholders from national government, from local government, from civil society and mining companies, along with community outreach activities, all of which feed into the team's research and capacity building plan. So as the team uses the results of their outreach and scoping work to develop and integrate their tools, there's certainly room to get involved. So special shout out if there are any user interface, user experience folks, or animators even in the house. This team would love to connect. So while this team works to constrain opportunities for corruption, other Jet Minerals Challenge projects are raising the costs of corruption. In this track, solutions might promote accountability and challenge the status quo of pervasive supply chain exploitation. One such team is Basis. So Basis is working to scale an existing digital platform for reporting on corruption in green mineral supply chains across 4 countries in the Great Lakes region of Africa. Basis will provide local actors, including civil society organizations, miners, investors, and other stakeholders, with real-time data that promotes transparency, exposes corruption, and supports policies and guidelines on whistleblowing. To do this, they'll convene partners to raise public awareness through advocacy, capacity building, and training that strengthens the ability of stakeholders to follow up on complaints and use the data for strategic decision making. This team is currently deep in the process of defining and developing their system requirements and system design plans. So if you are interested in app development in this space, let's chat. I'll say this team is also super interested in just general network connectivity to others, combating corruption and promoting democracy and good governance through citizen engagement mechanisms. So if this is you, I would also love to catch you up. I'll share one more example and then I'll pause for questions. But as we know, another way to root out corruption is to incentivize integrity. And this is the focus for many of the Jet Minerals Challenge innovators. Solutions in this track incentivize public and private integrity among producers and consumers of mineral products, cultivating a race to the top among companies utilizing green minerals. One team working in this area is the Impact Facility, whose project will address corruption in the trade and taxation of artisanal cobalt mining by introducing the Trust Merchant Bank's mobile payment platform to artisanal cobalt trade in the DRC. So the project aims to address economic disparities in the artisanal cobalt sector in the DRC by improving access to capital and financial education training. It focuses on driving local economic growth, job creation, and increased participation by leveraging digital payment services. This team's main objectives are raising awareness about digital banking, onboarding miners and merchants to the payment platform, and developing incentives for behavior change. So overall, this team seeks to reward ethical behavior and establish a more transparent ecosystem for all stakeholders involved. So if this is an ecosystem where you work and where you'd be interested in further engaging, if you're working on behavior change, let's link up on this one. I think that's probably about as much as we have time for today. I know that we agree that fulfilling the transformative promise of clean energy requires us to protect green mineral supply chains from systematic corruption. And I'm so glad to have had this space to share more about the Jet Minerals Challenge and the innovators thinking and doing things differently in this space. On a final note, I will say, I said this at the top too, but Grand Challenges really are unique in the way that they leverage partnerships. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you have ideas or questions. I'll also note that we are designing other initiatives under the Grand Challenge broadly. So thinking about engaging in open innovation around corruption in carbon markets, around corruption in global health supply chains, around just doing business with integrity. So it's a great moment to get involved with our team if you'd like to be included in co-designs or contribute to scoping or share ideas across sectors. There's really a ton of opportunity for collaboration. So I look forward to continuing these conversations. I can share my email in the chat and maybe a link to our overview page if people are interested. And I'll stop there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. Everybody, please, a round of applause for the wonderful Sarah Binger. Thank you very much. Absolutely excellent. Absolutely brilliant. Now, Sarah, we've got a number of questions that have been coming in, and some of them are coming in on YouTube, which is very exciting. And the question from Yamikani on YouTube, they ask, can developing grading, certification and appraisal systems, which can enhance government revenue collection and increase miners' revenue, qualify as innovative strategies? What do you think? Or is that one to take offline? What do you think?
It's a good question. I think whether something is innovative or not depends on context and what feels new and useful in the space that you're working. I think anything that is an incremental change, you can make an argument for being an innovative approach and a new way of thinking and doing things. So I'd encourage you to try it out and see where you can get.
Excellent. Yeah, because I know that sometimes we get a little bit pigeonholed in terms of what we can constrain as being innovation. So if someone comes from a very scientific background, we think, oh, you have to invent a new piece of machinery or something like that. But of course, innovative business models, etc., are just as valid. Is that correct?
Totally. I think we also often think of innovation has to be a technology or something really flashy and fun, but a new approach, a new product, a new program, all of these can be different ways of innovating in a space.
Awesome. And another question that's come in asks, in terms of that relationship between the innovators, let's call them that, and say industry, because often we need to get industry to do something or to change something in order to make use of this step change innovation. How has that relationship formed? Is there anything we could improve or learn from success that you've already had? What do you reckon?
Great question. I think it's a relationship that I'd love to continue to support building across these innovators. It looks and feels different in each case, of course. And in some cases, they have strong relationships, and that's where they're building on with their solution. In others, they're really looking for more opportunities to engage. So a lot of them have been doing user engagement and stakeholder engagement and outreach in these kind of initial phases of their products to try to establish those relationships, understand where there are opportunities and gaps, understand what's actually useful, what people are actually looking for. And I hope we can continue building on that. So if people are interested in getting involved, let's definitely connect and build those relationships up. It's all really supportive of the impacts that these innovators are aiming to achieve.
And Sarah, just in terms of your geographical scope and the intention behind that. So I think we've learned over the last few years and these conferences and more generally that the real prize here in terms of this massive change that we're having to go through across the world is if we can work out how to utilize our raw materials to actually unlock the potential for development in, say, different parts of Africa, as you've been mentioning. That's the real prize here. Are you seeing some of your innovations really kind of lock into that movement and those step changes, or is that part of the intention behind your geographical spread?
Yes, definitely. I think in having such a widespread, there's so much opportunity for peer-to-peer learning as well, in terms of thinking about what's worked in our area and our context and what could be shared or replicated elsewhere. There's so much space for the innovators to connect and share, and the broader the reach, the more we can think about different, differences and connections across all of them. So yeah, that is part of the intention to kind of create this global step change for development, as you say.
And one final question that we've got here is, you mentioned corruption in carbon markets. Now,
Mm.
I know that there are a number of people here who are doing work in this because there's a sentiment of we don't want to have to pay a cowboy to pretend to plant some trees just so we can get on an aeroplane. Do you want to expand on what you're thinking in that carbon market corruption area?
So it's under development right now. We're kind of in a co-design phase. So if people have particular insights or ideas that they'd like to share, the focus again, it's transnational corruption and carbon markets. So shoot me a note if that's of interest to you all.
Awesome. I'm pretty sure there might be one or two people reaching out. So
Perfect. Thank you.
awesome. So with that, thank you so much, Sarah. Everyone, please put your hands together for the fabulous Sarah.